They call me the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor. I am the Doctor. I'm the Doctor. I'm the Doctor. I am the Doctor. I'm the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
Greetings, humans, Daleks, Time Lords, and disappearing bees. You're listening to Exterminating Doctor Who.
This is the show where we take Doctor Who's most popular episodes and debate if they're really as good as their reputations.
With your hosts, Aidan, Gula.
And me, George Ellis.
And in today's episode, we are talking about the Stolen Earth Journey's End.
It's a two-parter.
Yes, this is. I mean, I always say it's my favourite episode of all time, but I also say that about The Day of the Doctor. They might be joint, they might not be. Either way, it's a really bloody good episode.
I've always had such fond memories about these two episodes because obviously it's the culmination of kind of everything Tennant and Eccleston's era into like one big, here you go. It's Endgame, but done before. Not really better. Same, I think.
In a different way.
Yeah. I mean, Endgame doesn't have Sarah Jane Smith, so it is lacking in that. Or,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
David Tennant, or Donna, or Dav. Yeah, no, so just kind of
Better.
yeah. No, but I've always had kind of fond memories of this two-parter. But watching it, because I watched it last night. It was I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more because I'm finding when I'm revisiting a lot of kind of the best episodes, they're resonating with me on a much more emotional level than when they did when I first watched them, or even in watch-throughs kind of in recent years. It's just kind of they're really hitting me in the feels as of late.
I think that could be for two reasons. Because you're so used to watching really bad episodes, you're going, "Oh my god, this is so good!"
Yeah.
It's so and you're overwhelmed with emotions because you're going, "It's so good." And also probably because when you're older, you can realize what it means to you, and you can go, "Oh, that's Sarah Jane. She means so much to me." I don't know, that kind of thing. So I feel that's probably a reason why it's more emotionally oomphed. Though I've just cried at it for how long's it been out? 13 years. I cried at it for 13 years. So.
But then you've got moments where, because if you've listened to the podcast, you'll know I recently saw Genesis of the Daleks, and that elevated my experience for this episode a hell of a lot when it comes to Sarah Jane and Davros. So when I see that moment, when I saw it yesterday, it was incredible because it's the first time they've seen each other since that moment, and their acting is phenomenal, and it's heartbreaking, and the fear. Daleks, I think, have lost a lot of their fear recently because of they're so overused and they're kind of just easily defeated, and it's kind of like, they're just the Daleks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, it does remind you, they're the Daleks for a reason. They kill everything, and they don't stop for anyone. You know, not even Davros, because for God's sake, I love how in this episode, he's not even really super duper in charge. He's just been thrown into the... What's it called?
They call it the Vault.
The Vault, yes. I love that. And it's just like... I love when the 10th Doctor discovers that, and he's just like... Just laughing at Davros. Just like, you aren't in control. You've never really been in control much since that first time. It's all been...
Because he loses control. He loses control in Genesis.
Yeah, he's just like, exactly. He's trying to grab it. He's just trying to get it back. And the Daleks eventually just like, all right, wait. We'll just keep you going. It's like you put your dad in a care home. That's basically what the Daleks have done to the guy.
Basically, yeah. Before we hop on in, though, of course, we have got to do a little bit because there is actually stuff happening. So, as we did last week, here's a new section. I can only say that really again this week. Then after that, it's not a new section anymore, is it? But here is the section known as Who Knows? Okay, so there is a little bit of news, not a whole lot. Last week we just talked about Russell T Davies. This week there is a little bit. I don't know if you've probably seen it on Instagram and things. You must have seen it's on the story and things like that. Basically, they're finally gearing up for Series 13 promotion now. So over the last few days, we've had a few promotional photos. I posted some on the Instagram account, EDW_podcast. They've also, what was the other thing they did? They did a big projection
Oh, I saw that.
in Liverpool last night. It was only up for about 3 hours or something, but it was of a Sontaran ship. And they said, oh, there's something over Liverpool. What? I was looking at it for ages ago. Why Liverpool? But I remembered because John Bishop's in it, isn't it?
I do like that. Oh, there's something over Liverpool. It's a Sontaran ship.
Yeah, everybody was like, it's a Sontaran ship. I can clearly see what that is.
There wasn't any sense of... They weren't trying to be discreet with that at all.
No.
Like, show us the bottom corner, maybe.
Yeah. But it was just, here's that. But I imagine if you were in Liverpool and you look out your window and go, what the hell is that?
Because if you're not
over
keeping up
there?
with Doctor Who, like, I know that's a Sontaran ship, but, like, I had to, like, look at it for a good, let's say, 30 seconds and be like, not Dalek. It's Sontaran. Like, took me a good second. If you don't know what the Sontaran ship is, you could have woken up at, like, maybe 2 a.m, whenever it was being shown, and just looked out your window and thought, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, because I mean, I suppose it's a good thing for people to try and Google it to find out what it was. But also,
what's that?
But also, if you were a crazy conspiracy theorist in Liverpool last night, you were having a great time.
Oh, it's just
because it wasn't
fueled your.
It wasn't just still either; it was span as well. So there's people I can imagine in Liverpool, if you're some crazy tinfoil hat person going, they're here, then at midnight it vanishes, and they're going.
Imagine if you're just a normal person, just drunk that night.
Yeah. That'd be terrifying, actually. What the fuck is that in the sky?
Exactly.
But so that was another thing. The other thing they've been doing is glitches have been coming up on BBC One.
Yes.
I've played a video because I said it's like us on a Zoom call, things go wrong.
I've only seen that from the post you put
from our meme.
Yeah.
But so they've been doing that. And I think I saw one in between Strictly or something came on. Can you hear me? Then she disappears again. Again, if you know it's Doctor Who, great. If you don't know it's Doctor Who, you're just going.
It very much feels like they're gearing up for her finale. Like when I say her, as in they're gearing up for the end of Jodie's era. They're gearing up for that. Even though
it's quite some time away.
As if no. As if everyone is watching it like in the Tennant era. You know, people aren't.
I think that it's great that we're getting promotion because.
But it's promotion that seems to rely on people knowing what it is.
Exactly. It's great that we're getting it because it was supposed to be debuting this month. That seems unlikely now because this is the first we've heard of it.
And I would argue actually that I do quite like this. This is good promotion. I think if people knew what it was, it's just like it's something else.
It's promoting to the fans. Like there was the. I mean, you don't really go on the Twitter. It's me who uses the Twitter. Ellis Gula Media. That's our Twitter. But
don't tell them our trade secret. I'm on it all the time.
They've been doing this thing called Find the Doctor, and they've been hiding clues in things, like in galleries. There was a painting in a gallery which had the TARDIS in it, and that was a clue. And there's all these things going on, quizzes and things like that. And people worked out the final thing about 3 weeks early. So the BBC kind of went, that wasn't supposed to happen. And all it was in the end was just a poster of Jodie Whittaker. But all these things, basically, it's like you're doing promotion, but it's only for the fans.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, those people are going to watch it anyway. You need to be promoting to the people that aren't. You need to be promoting to Deborah down the street. She might watch Doctor Who if she's promoted it. But little old nerdy Dave, of course he's going to watch it. You don't need to say to him, what Doctor Who, Dave? He's like, yeah, I'm going to anyway. Do you know what I mean? It seems to be...
It feels like they're, like, for example, with Star Wars, if you're going to promote anything Star Wars, even everyone knows who that is. Like, it's just like you can do this kind of promotion for that because what you're doing is you're reminding people, oh, Star Wars is back. It's that kind of, oh, wow, it's coming back. That is interesting. But with this, it's very much kind of like a Doctor Who's back. And you either get, as you've said, yay, I can't wait to watch it, or I know, or don't really care.
Yeah.
Even if you do know what it is, there's a fair chunk of people out there, and I was like, I was like this, and I kind of am a little bit because I don't really care for this era that much. But it's just kind of like, I know exactly what this is, but I don't really care, and this isn't helping. This isn't me. This promotion of Jodie going. That's not gonna help me at all.
No,
that's not gonna. That's not convincing me to watch
I made a post last night saying, last night at time of recording, saying I am actually quite excited for Series 13 now in a very strange way. But I think that is partly due to doing this podcast, which has got me completely back into Doctor Who for the first time properly in quite some time. And I think it's being on Twitter because on Twitter we only follow. I don't use my personal account. I only use the external.
I set up the Twitter and just went through 1,000 Doctor Who related
Yeah,
things.
so
and just
I don't know who 90% of the
No.
people are that we follow, but all the 100%, well, it's probably more like 99%, but there's a couple of accounts that probably got through, but they're all Doctor Who. So anytime I go on Twitter, all I see is Doctor Who stuff. So I'm constantly bombarded with Doctor Who every day. So I think by seeing that, it has fed into me to go, you are excited for Series 13. Even though I hated Series 11, I hated Series 12 even more, and I'll probably hate this one too. I'll probably watch it and go, whoa, what is this? But I'm strangely excited for it. Like, the things I'm excited for, because I told a friend of mine, I said, I'm not going to watch Series 13. And he went,
you have other friends. Hold on.
yeah, there's not many of them, but there is about 3 others. But I said to him, I said, I'm not going to watch Series 13. And he went, yeah, but you will. And I went, no, I'm not. I'm not going to watch it. But now, because we do this podcast, we're going to watch it because we're going to do we're going to do a couple of bonus episodes to cover it and talk about it.
I would be dreading it. I think for me, because we've got this new Russell T Davies era coming, you've got this kind of safety net.
Yeah.
That I feel. So it's like, no, I'm not dreading this. I'm not excited for it. I'm interested to see what happens with it. Because if it is great, brilliant. If it is bad, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
that's where I am.
I said the same thing to Niall, who joined us for the Impossible Planet episode. Go check that out. And he was saying to me, he said he's feeling the same thing. He's quite excited to watch it, even though he hated the past Chibnall era that's come so far. And we were saying it's because it kind of feels like it doesn't matter. And it is that safety net you're saying. It's like because I watched Series 12. I've said this on the edge of my seat, but not in a good way, as in I was there like literally tense. You know, you're really nervous and you're tense and you just feel like that. That's how I felt through Series 12. And you shouldn't be watching your favorite program like that, because I was dreading what they'd be revealing.
And were you satisfied by the reveals?
No, I wasn't.
No.
I wasn't at all. So that's how I felt during Series 12. But this time I feel like I can sit back and relax. If something really bad that I hate happens, I could kind of go, don't matter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good. It's like, if this is controversial and fans don't like it, it's not going to be in the next era because that doesn't sell. So that's our Who Knows section for this week. Not much news, not much is going on, but I'm sure maybe next week we'll have more for you. And obviously we're recording this on Thursday. Friday is usually the day things are revealed, but we're releasing on Sunday, so we'll have to cover that a week behind, but that's fine. No. But anyway, we'll go on to now what we're here for today, and that is, as we said, Stolen Earth. We already talked a little bit about that, so I guess we can go deeper now. Where do you want to begin with Stolen Earth? Because it's so huge, and you even pointed out to me last week that the tagline on BBC iPlayer is literally Earth's Greatest Heroes Assemble, so that they clearly know what they're doing. Yeah, by saying that. It's such a huge thing to begin with, because it's a really great it's a really great companion piece, it's a really great Dalek piece, it's a really great Doctor piece. It goes a little bit off the rails in Journey's End. I do think Journey's End is weaker. I would say Stolen Earth, not much. I would say Stolen Earth is 10 out of 10 for me. Journey's End is 9 out of 10.
I do agree with you. I do, because I know exactly. I do kind of know what you mean there. But I think kind of any Doctor elements that do fall flat in the second episode, I think that is more because of the meta crisis.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll begin with negative points, because it's very easy just to go, it's the best thing ever, it's faultless, blah, 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 blah. But I do think there are a few problems, which I think is maybe why I go, Day of the Doctor's my favourite, because I can't think of many problems with Day of the Doctor. To be fair, there's not many problems here. And most of the problems that I have, I think they play out well in the end. But when they're introduced and when you're going through it, it's like, I don't like this, don't like this, don't like this. And you get the payoff and you go, all right, okay, I can let that go. But I do think it does, like you said, it comes down to the meta crisis a little bit. Because I'm going, it's like going, I love the banter with Donna. I love the way it's like, it plays out and it gives Rose a happy ending and it does all of that. But there are bits when I think there are bits when I go, and I think, let me have a look at what I wrote. I literally wrote 1, 2.
You're naked. Oh yes, I do quite like that line.
Yeah, I wrote 5 minus points. All I wrote is 5 minus points, and one of them is actually just very silly, because it's the bit where Davros wheels out and he flicks a switch on his thing and it turns the light on for Dalek Khan. So I just put, why does Davros have a light switch?
I like that Dalek Khan isn't in some sort of room or caged up, but he's kind of caged up, but he's chained up kind of esque, but he's not in a different room. It's just like, we need to speak to Dalek Khan. turn the light on, and he's just there like,
Yeah, it's like, hi. So you could have done that anyway.
Yeah.
But I've got 5, and 3 of them are about the meta crisis, and it's all Dr. Donna. Because I think the creation of the meta crisis is a little bit like, huh? Do you know what I mean? It kind of grows, Carry On Screaming-esque, grows from a body part.
I can kind of understand that because it is the exact same biological makeup. So the regenerative energy feels like it kind of would just.
I suppose so, but it's
fix
kind
that.
of like the fact that it's. I can
And
understand.
regenerative energy-
It's the jar. It makes sense to me because he's put the regeneration energy into that jar. Then it makes sense for that the hand to go, oh, I'm regenerating, and then form a body. I can kind of understand that. It's the fact it's kind of long before that, Donna's hearing the heartbeat, like when she's in the Shadow Proclamation. Long before any of that's happened, she's already hearing a heartbeat, and I'm kind of like, why?
Yeah, I don't really.
And-
They do explain that. Well, not explain it. They say the reason for that is the Metacrisis doctor literally says that was me.
So,
I
like,
don't understand
but
how
how?
it could be because maybe it's the pulse in the hand, but even so, it's
So why is she hearing it so early? Because when she's hearing
the
it,
Metacrisis doctor himself cannot time travel. That's not like an inherent ability
No.
of Time Lords.
no.
So I do
when
understand
she's
what you mean.
when she's in the TARDIS and the Doctor's already regenerated, and you hear the heartbeat, then I can
Because then the energy
I
is
can
kind of
understand
floating
that.
around. Yeah.
It's when long before she's here, I'm like, hey. So that's when I go a bit question. And the fact that it's activated by her just going towards the glass, and then suddenly that springs it to life. I'm kind of like, why?
Yeah, I mean, regeneration. You needed a cup of tea at some point.
Yeah, but he's already regenerated by that point. It wasn't
don't
like it
know.
wasn't like Chris Eccleston was in the TARDIS going, I need tea.
Yeah,
it's
just
like-
needs a
then
quick kick.
And then he has a
Just gives him a
regeneration.
kick, and then he.
Yeah, also
Yeah.
those things I kind of go, oh, it's a bit weird,
I'm
weird,
pretty
this.
sure that no, that second one is all like with the touching the thing. That's purely for a
create Dr.
storytelling
Donna.
perspective.
Yeah.
That's purely for that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it'd just be Donna chilling, having a wee in the bathroom, and then she walks out, and the Doctor's suddenly there again.
Yeah. So it's just things like that when I kind of go, doesn't make sense. And I think, although I love Donna to death, she's my favorite companion ever. I love her exit in this. It makes me cry. It's heartbreaking.
I sent you a some snaps.
I mean,
last night.
we say this, don't we, all the time, that we send each other reaction videos. Although I didn't really send you any videos this time.
A little bit.
because you'd already sent me
the
like,
entire film.
yeah.
Like
And it's the only time I've seen you go and literal tears
Genuinely,
rolling down your
because
face.
I was lying back, kind of on my bed, just watching it. It's kind of like this angle. If you're watching, you can see, but it's like not 90 degrees, some sort of degrees. I was lying on my bed, and so when I was watching it, and that scene was happening with Donna getting her mind wiped and all that, I've been emotional about this before, like a little bit, but genuinely, when I was watching it last night, I was honestly weeping. Like, I don't, if I'm upset about something, I may get some tears in my eyes or something like that. I very rarely like cry with actual tears streaming down my face.
Yeah, there's just something about that I kind of think. And then I think even when the Dr. Donna forms, it's kind of a bit ridiculous, a bit over the top, cheesy.
It is
and I kind of think,
because it is. I do agree with you. It is a bit cheesy, and it's a bit kind of like why she developed. They've obviously the reason she's got all the mannerisms and that kind of thing is because so you're like, oh, same brain, but it's like I don't know.
but that's how I.
But it's
genuinely
also
feel
there
about
are moments that I really like about that, which is like 100 words per minute, and just
exactly.
there
It's
are-
kind of
it's-
like it's something where I don't. Then my negative points, and I do it drops the episode down from a 10 to a 9, but it's still a 9 out
oh
of
yeah,
10.
no, we'll talk about all the positives. Don't you worry. This is just
Yeah,
something-
we're just starting off by saying, look, it's very easy. If you're just thinking we're going to be going, oh, this is amazing, we are here saying, no, there are.
there's a discussion here.
I think maturing is realizing that you can criticize things you love. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's not just like going, this is the best thing ever. It's like going, yeah, but let's just look at it
I did
critically.
a Batman podcast. I think I've matured enough to do that.
Yeah, sure. Like
Not
we
without
have- we
crying
have to-
every episode
like,
of the-
I love Doctor Who, but it's you have to. We're looking at it critically. We are trying to do a second opinion. We're trying to do a review. So you do have to criticize
Yes,
it, and I'm sure
I'm
there
with you.
will be other episodes that we adore, and we're going, yeah, but it's it's kind of devil's advocate. It doesn't make me hate the episode, and there's nothing I feel strongly about. Do you know what I mean? There are things in Doctor Who where I can go, I really don't
Or it's
like
just
this,
kind of in
and
the
I'm
back of
going to
your
tell
mind,
you
just
why.
like
But
a little-
it's just kind of like I don't really like this.
Mm.
But then I think they play out, like I say, I think they play out like, I don't really like the Metacrisis Doctor. I think it's kind of stupid. But I like that it means that Rose gets a happy ending and that the real Doctor moves on. When he's kind of stood on the beach, he's like, yeah, you're off now. And it's like, what were you going to say to me? He's just like, you can see there the Doctor's moved on. And he said his goodbye, what he needed to do. He's seen her again. And he's like, I can get on with my life now.
Yes.
So that's fine. Because even,
it gives that, basically the whole point is it gives that entire Rose Doctor arc closure.
Yeah.
Be it good closure, bad closure, it just gives closure for everyone, every party involved.
Everyone involved, yeah. And it's because I don't like the Doctor Rose romance.
Hmm.
But because it ends with the Doctor moving on and he's not hung up going, I want Rose back, or every 5 minutes, I'm like going, I'm happy.
What?
I
Exactly like Capaldi is with Clara.
I don't like that either.
I know.
You can't say that.
That was a little jab at the
I
Clara.
don't like that.
That was a little jab at the way Clara's whole arc ends with him still hung up on her somehow, even though we can't remember her.
Yeah, exactly. So I that's basically kind of how I feel. It's like, I don't like this, but you've paid it off in a good way for me to sit comfortably with
Yeah,
it.
I didn't
It's
like
kind of
this.
like what I want them to do with the Timeless
Yeah.
Child. I don't like them, but if you play it off in a way that makes me sit comfortably with it, I'll be like,
this whole
fine.
thing I didn't like, but you tied it up in such a neat way that I can easily forget about it and move on.
Yeah.
And all the characters are still the same, and there hasn't been any drastic change.
No.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
That's I know exactly
That's
what you
how
mean
I
there.
feel.
I, for the record, do quite like the romance, and it's probably one of the few romances in kind of TV that I sit there and I don't just hate. Exactly. Yeah, it's just like, oh, come on, where's the rest of the thing? Actually, I do quite enjoy it. But so I feel like I like the closure there. I think it's really quite wonderful. But I get what you're saying there, and it's no matter what, it's a wonderful end for Rose and the Doctor's relationship. If you
Yeah.
like it, if you don't,
I mean, I think
nice boat.
while we're here, I think
while we're here.
because I mean, I can't. The way it's the one. Basically, it's one of the few romances that you don't react to in the way I react to it. Essentially, and I think even though there are elements of that in this episode, and my final thing that I don't like, which maybe I kind of feel strongly about, but I'm just kind of like sure, is when they're doing the video call, and Rose is really bitchy towards Martha, and she's like, "Who are you?" And I kind of don't like that. I prefer camaraderie between companions, and when it's kind of just like, well, who are you? It's like, shut up, you're not the first companion.
I think that felt, in terms of writing, it felt a little bit kind of playful, but in terms of the way it's delivered and in terms of the context, when I think about it, I do understand what you're saying, and it can feel a little bit kind of like, yeah. But I also, I don't know. But I also think if I were in Rose's shoes, I'd maybe feel somewhat similar, because I'd be like, she felt like she had an incredible emotional, romantic connection to the Doctor. So maybe you could feel like, or maybe
but it is kind of like, but you're not the first companion, so you're not going to be the last. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean.
So it's like, if you're going to be replaced, it's like, yeah.
I think maybe a lot of this episode, like that moment, for example, is maybe trying to focus on that relationship, to not just remind the audience of the relationship, because it's been a while since we've actually seen it on screen properly. I think it might just be for that, just to kind of remind us and be kind of showing us that it's still there and that the feelings are still strong. I think that's probably what that's for. But I do get what you mean. It is a bit selfish in that way, or it's kind of a bit.
That word is the criticism that most people have for Rose. Like I said to you the other day, I mean, I always think I'm in the minority of not liking the 10 Rose romance, but our friend Joel did a little post the other day on Twitter, which was going, if you had to get rid of one of these 4 series, 1, 2, 3, or 4, which one would you get rid of? And 99% of people went, get rid of them 2. We don't need any more 10 and Rose. And I was kind of like, that's really interesting. Because I remember that I've said this before, I remember when I was in Doctor Who club in school, all the kids that were younger than me despised Rose. Like, despised her. They all look, to the point where they went, oh, I even prefer Clara over Rose. They're like, people just, and I at the time I was going, well, sure, but you weren't even born when Rose was in Doctor Who. So I was kind of like, this opinion doesn't matter. But the fact I'm seeing that opinion grow, it's kind of surprising for me, because obviously that's what I've grown up with, and I do love Rose, though, like I said, maturing has been able to criticize it. But I'm surprised I'm seeing that opinion grow so much and so widely. So, but I think the reason there are elements of it in this episode that I don't like her being bitchy. I don't like the Doctor when he kind of goes when she does something. I don't like that. I'm going, why are you acting like a 10-year-old boy? You're literally 900 years old.
He hasn't seen Nova in quite a while, to be fair.
But it's the way he said, the way he does it, the way he kind of goes, it's kind of like, but you
Listen,
act like,
alright.
you can go.
I've
"Oh,
got my romantic abilities off this interpretation. I do my best, and it doesn't work. So no,
Like there are ways you can react to that by looking impressed without going like a really goofy way.
I know.
I was like,
but
that don't.
I do get what you mean.
But there are
It
things.
doesn't-
There are things where I
Mm.
think they are much more interpreted as being like you said. You sent me the bit where he's looking at the screen and he goes, "Everybody except Rose." I'm fine with that bit.
Yeah, because I said about that bit actually. I like that bit because he knows Rose is out there, so he's going to be thinking about that. So to me, that doesn't feel like he's just latched onto this one companion for no reason. Because because then that'd be a bit like, why are you still mentioning? It's like why are you still mentioning Rose right now? There's a completely different situation going on. It's a bit, but the fact he knew she was out there and looking for him, that I get, because what that means is that if we were to swap Rose with any other companion who he knows is out there at the moment, like if we swapped it for Sarah Jane, for example, I think he'd have that exact same reaction. And that's why I really like that moment, because it shows the companionship maybe more than some sort of a favorite. It shows the companionship for everyone rather than a favoritism.
Yeah, it's because it's this era's companions, and he's looking at a screen with all of this era on it. So people could go, yeah, but why doesn't he go, where's Joe Grant? Why doesn't he go, where's Nissa? It's kind of like, well, they're not relevant right now.
And also, he knew for a fact Rose was out there.
Yeah, but
looking for him in
he'd
this
know
moment.
they are as well.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like you could go, where's Ian? But it's like, but that's not this era. You're looking at,
Yeah.
It's like if you're looking at,
But were they mentioned
be
earlier?
like-
no, but the thing is, Rose was mentioned early on in the episode by
but it's not
Donna.
even, yeah, but it's not even, it's because it's this era. It's like,
It's-
you know,
no, but
if-
I'm trying to
like-
say it's these two reasons.
Yeah, I know, but
mentioned
I'm
by-
giving you another
Okay.
reason. Stop saying your reasons. Let me say my reasons. So it's the fact he's looking at them and he's going, it's like if you looked at, right, it's like you're in his video call with Queen, right? And you've got, let's imagine Freddie Mercury's still alive, and you've
Okay.
got Freddie, Brian, and John. You'd be going, where's Roger? Because you're going, I want all this full lineup.
Yes.
So if you're looking at your current era of companions,
It's like if I were to look at my uni friends specifically. Did you just wet yourself? Because that
No.
sounded.
That's very straight. That'd be weird on audio,
Yeah.
won't it? No, I dropped my water bottle. That's all that was. I haven't spilled it or anything. I'm fine.
No, I get what you're saying with it's this era. It's a
Yeah.
specific set of people.
Exactly. So he's going, where's the one missing?
Mm.
So I'm fine with that there. And also the bit where he sees Rose again. I mean, I still get goosebumps for me. It still makes me cry when he's going, oh, Rose would know. And then Donna says, why don't you just ask her yourself? And he turns around, he sees it, he runs towards her. There, I'm fine with that. Because yes, you could go, it is a kind of romantic, I'm running to my love kind of thing. But I kind of just see it as, oh my God, Rose is finally here. Let's go to her. Yes. I'm fine with that.
I think he'd do that for any companion, frankly.
Yeah, but it's just, it doesn't matter.
that is
It doesn't matter who it is. It's just the fact he's going, oh, you're that one person that was missing all this time. Here you are. Let's run to you.
Mm. It's not like
Fine,
the
it's not-
moment he got to her, he would have given her a
If
snog.
there was a love theme over it, I'd be going, oh, what the hell is
like
this?
okay, so if they're playing like Clara's theme, what would you?
Oh, I'd be violently sick.
I've never
But,
seen anyone just. I didn't even need to see the rest of your face. I could just tell it was like, how dare you
Don't-
even
it's like,
say
don't
that?
mention that
Yeah, exactly.
right now. Yeah. So no, I think there are. That's why I say I like the way it plays off. I like the way that it ends with the Doctor moving on.
Mm.
He isn't hung up over her anymore because it's just like, just get over yourself. How many companions have you travelled with? Why would you? Why? And then the fact that he even, the way that, because it's people say, did the Doctor want to say, Rose Tyler, I love you? That's still up for debate. You can say whether or not.
Oh,
I
he
think
so did. I can.
Yeah,
like,
it's clearly what they're pointing
but, no,
to.
but even if it's not pointed to, every time I've watched that, you look at the way his mouth moves. If you kind of think I love you, it's kind of like lip reading. It is exactly the same sort of intonation.
Hmm.
And I've seen David Tennant speak a million times. For God's sake, I think I can
'Cause
pin that
obviously
down.
in the actual moment, all he says is Rose Tyler. And then that's it, isn't it?
Mm. No, I know. Oh, back then,
Yeah,
I was talking about in the episode Day to Day. Like
yeah.
I was talking about
No, I
in,
mean in Doomsday.
Yes, no.
when
In
it's-
in Doomsday, it is up for debate. Yes, but it's pointed towards. But in Journey's End, when Metacrisis Doctor says it, if you look at the way his mouth moves, it is exactly "I love you." And if it isn't, I'm going mad.
I mean, it could have done the classic elephant juice. He could have done that when they were. I mean, I'll say this when we do this episode much later on in the series. One of my favorite things like that is when in Silence in the Library or Forest of the Dead, whichever it is, when River goes to the Doctor and whispers in his ear and says his name, what she actually said in real life was she went, Shaniqua. That's what she actually whispered in his ear.
How do you not keep a straight face during?
No, they said they had to do so many takes because she kept going, Shaniqua. And then they both just broke down laughing. So that's what the Doctor actually said. So actually, technically, that is the Doctor's real name. But so I love the idea of, in this case, that the Doctor then, well, the Meta-Crisis Doctor whispers into Rose's ear, just goes, Shaniqua. So I love the idea that he does that there. But yeah, so you can. It is up for debate, but it isn't up for debate. It's kind of very clearly.
You can at least say it's up for debate for the main Doctor, but for the Meta-Crisis Doctor, I'd say you can't really debate that. They are just
Yeah, but I think because it purposely doesn't show you, or you purposely don't hear it, it is supposed to go. If you do, it's that kind of thing of going, well, we're signposting you to say this is what they're saying. But if you
they're
really,
holding hands because they're really good friends.
and then the kiss afterwards because he said Shaniqua. But I think it's basically that thing. It's basically saying, look, this is what we're signposting to you to say. This is what you would prefer you to believe. But if you really don't want to, you really don't have to.
Yes, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's a shame a certain decision doesn't do that. Dallas Child, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think there's much else to say about the Meta-Crisis Doctor. We seem to be, or Rose. Do you want to go on to more companions now, or do you want to? Because there's like such major big bubbles to talk about this episode. That's the best way we're gonna have to do this. Do you want to go on to more companions now, or do you want to do Daleks? Because I've just mentioned them.
Well, we save the Doctor for the end, obviously, but I think
Sure. Yeah.
let's do companions, then Daleks, then Doctor. I
Sure.
think that's a good way to go. So next companion, let's say. Well, I just really want to talk about Sarah Jane, for God's sake.
Sure.
I've spoken before on this podcast how wonderful I think she is, and we have as well, both of us. But she's Elizabeth Sladen is such an important part of Doctor Who and for many generations, and because she's not with us anymore, the emotional. Everything emotionally, and because I'm older, like it's a mix of many things. The emotional resonance that I get from seeing her on screen is
For our generation,
incredible now.
I've always thought
what I mean?
Elizabeth Sladen is kind of like the auntie to everybody in our generation. Everybody I know,
Mhm.
I've spoken to people who don't even realize Sarah Jane Adventures is a spin-off of Doctor Who, but they loved it and they watched it. I always think, what did you think when the Doctor appeared in episodes then? And rewatching it, she mentions the Doctor so often that did you not sit there going, who are they talking about? Or are you just so young you don't question it? Do you know what I mean?
Probably.
And I think
the
that's
latter,
probably
yeah.
the case. But I've spoken to people who go, oh God, I love the Sarah Jane Adventures. And I go, did you watch Doctor Who as well? And they've gone, why would I have watched Doctor Who? And it's kind of like, you know it's a spin-off, right? No? Okay, sure. But it's so I've barely spoken to anybody our age who hasn't seen the Sarah Jane Adventures. I'm now thinking, can I think of a single person who I've spoken to who hasn't seen it? So when we see her, like you said, every time we've ever mentioned Sarah Jane on this podcast, we always then follow up with, because Elizabeth Sladen's no longer with us, is because we just have such a strong emotional attachment to her that when we see her, you go, oh, it is like seeing a relative you've not
Exactly.
seen for years.
And because
it just feels so...
It's we have that first layer of emotional attachment from seeing it as a kid, and then you have that kind of emotional attachment of it's like a family member, and then you have because
of being a fan as well.
yes, and because you're older now and you've kind of had grief in your life and all that kind of stuff, and you understand that emotional aspect of life that resonates with you more, and then the fact that she isn't with us anymore is another layer on top of that. It is much more than just one single thing, I think, and it just means that it is wonderful seeing her on screen. It is wonderful seeing her performance, and I think she is honestly superb in this. I think this is one of her best acting kind of
It's probably
examples.
the best in Doctor Who.
That's what I was going to say. In Doctor Who, I think it's one of her best times as Sarah Jane. I think because she gets to do despair, and I think that's always a very good one for an actor to play, and she does despair incredibly. The first time she hears the Dalek voice is...
Yeah, I mean, we alluded to it earlier by saying, because you've now seen, obviously I've seen Genesis of the Daleks, but now that you've seen Genesis of the Daleks, I was so keen, because when we did the episode with Phil, it was going to be that, or it was going to be the Sea Devils. I was so keen to do Genesis of the Daleks, because it is seen by many as the best episode ever, and also because I knew we'd be doing this for this episode for the podcast, and I was going, God, I'd love to see George's reaction if he had that context. And you've already said that the context has changed it. But how much because there are three moments I think that really have the big impact, and it is A, when she hears the Dalek voice for the first time, B, when she hears Davros for the first time, and C, when Davros recognizes her.
Yeah.
For him, it's been hundreds and hundreds of years. For her, it's been 40 years or so. But the fact he recognizes her is like just such a big moment. So there are the three moments I think that, yes, when you can watch them before you go, Sarah Jane probably met him before, whatever. When you actually see it, how much have those moments been risen up for you?
That's one hell of an interview question, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
All of those moments I think are wonderful, and that's okay. When I first watched it, it was like, this is Sarah Jane from the Sarah Jane Adventures. Oh, this is very cool. And she was always such an incredible character from what I'd seen in purely New Who, because I had never seen any classic Who at all, really. So I knew she was an old companion because they say it in the damn episode. So it was nice seeing her again initially when I first saw it, being like, oh, she's here. That's great. It's nice. Everyone's together. Wonderful. And I really liked her because, as I've said, School Reunion is actually my favorite episode. I would say it's not the best,
Not
but
the best, but it's the favorite.
It is my favorite. But now, as you've said, with that context of Genesis of the Daleks, which is actually really good, and if you haven't seen it, I would say go watch Genesis of the Daleks. It is very good. And from a New Who fan who's like basically just New Who, it means a lot for me to say that.
Yeah.
But the context, it is context in the sense of it gives you an understanding of the Daleks and the creation of the Daleks and Davros' relationship with them. So that's one bit of context it gives you. And it gives you the context of Sarah Jane and the Doctor and Davros and that relationship between the three of them. You get to see kind of, because you get to understand why Sarah Jane is so scared of the Daleks and so scared of Davros, because it isn't just because of what the Doctor said, as with most companions, or kind of an interaction with it. She hasn't seen, like, what she saw isn't just the Daleks in a bad situation. She's seen the creation of these creatures on their own planet and the war surrounding it. And she's seen Davros, and she can not understand it, but she knows it so much about that kind of stuff. And she's seen how twisted Davros is firsthand. And she thought, thank God, that's gone. We've dealt with that. Me and the Doctor, we saved the day. We're out of there. That's what she would have thought. And then for her to see, just even hear the Daleks again, that's deathly terrifying, because she's seen what those can do. And then she hears Davros again, and that just reminds her of everything in that moment. And she's not just scared for herself. She's scared for the people she cares about. She's scared for Luke. And that is an incredible emotional reaction.
That's what I really like, when she hears the Dalek voice for the first time. It's a moment. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I watch that clip on YouTube quite regularly. I've seen it probably more regularly in build up to this episode, because I was honestly so excited to do this. This was originally supposed to be our finale, our final one of series 2. And I fast tracked it to the beginning because I was so excited to talk about this episode. So I've watched that clip of her when they hear the Dalek voice for the first time, and you just see her, she just starts crying. And then it's when she just hugs Luke and goes, "But I was so young." And throughout the episode, she mentions Luke so many times with this episode. And you can think, I say episode, I mean the full thing, you know what I mean? And you think because she knows how she was, and she was really young, and she saw the Daleks. She doesn't want Luke to have that as well, because it'll probably mess him up.
And he could be killed. It's like those...
it could be messy, but also like, obviously he could be killed, but it is
it's quite a big one.
But it is like, because you can imagine if you were, it is like, imagine if you had that, and then for 40 years you kind of like, having to deal with the Daleks.
Imagine you just, even no matter what it is, imagine if you had such an incredibly traumatic experience because of one person in your life, and you thought they were gone, and then they come back and they're threatening everything
when you're young, I'm
you
gonna
care
keep
about.
you away from that.
Exactly. You not only want to protect what you love from any sort of pain, but it's also, you were kind of in their shoes at this very moment, so you know exactly what will happen to them if they're in that moment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They'll be scared.
But I'm just saying, you hit the nail on the head there.
Yes, I thought you were saying that's exactly what I'm saying.
Let's not be going. That's my point.
Yeah,
that was me
you're stealing my point, George.
That's it. But yes, to carry on with.
Yeah, no, I get that's that. And then when she sees Davros, like face to face, not face to face, but has a little video call with Davros, and then Davros is like, "Oh, hello." I love how he just comes on screen, just slides.
Wheels in, doesn't he?
Slides into frame. Oh, hello. It's amazing. No, but when he sees her, and as you said, remembers her, because I know when that last was, and kind of how he's changed since then, and how he's more twisted, and how he's taken bits out of him, and how I think for him, I know I'm talking about Davros here, for Davros to see Sarah, I think that's more than just seeing her, because obviously, oh my God, it's Sarah Jane. But I think it's also reminding him of Tom Baker's Doctor, but also the creation of the Daleks. I think it's a multi-layered thing for Davros in that moment. And I think that's a multi-layered thing for Sarah Jane as well. And this is all because of context. It's not just scared because the bad guy's a bad guy. It's scared because you know the creation of these bad guys and you were there at the start and you thought they weren't a thing. The context adds so much emotional weight. And you know when you see someone acting on screen and you see a reaction to something and you're like if they're crying because they're scared, for example, you like, I understand why you're scared because this is a bad guy. But once you understand exactly the relationship between these two characters, you understand exactly why they're upset. And you can tap into that emotional weight way more than just something normally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, because that's kind of how I feel. It's kind of how I feel about Torchwood. Have you ever seen any of Torchwood?
Honestly, not really.
No, because I've actually only seen, there's 4 series. I've actually only seen 2. And it could be blasphemy.
I've seen bits of it when I was younger. But
I
I think
wasn't,
it felt a bit too old for me.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch it because it is the adult. Surprising that it was probably because I live with my mum more. Maybe my mum was a bit more strict with what I could watch, whereas my dad was going, "Here's Terminator." But I didn't see it because it is supposed to be this Doctor Who for adults kids. So the first episode starts with an F-bomb because that is supposed to be, if you're a kid and you've sat down and watched it, your parents go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa," and then they turn it off.
I like that. You just sit down to watch it. Oh,
that was literally what they were supposed. That was literally what was the point. So I hadn't seen into, and the reason I've only seen 2 series is because do you remember when I was ill not long ago and I couldn't look up phone screens and things? Do you remember when I had that, do you remember when I had that really weird illness?
I remember that moment, yeah.
That wasn't the first time I've had that illness. The first time I realized
it was like texting. It was like having a little pen pal in a different country.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was getting like one text every 4 days.
Yeah, and I'd be going, "I'm still alive.
It's okay, George. I'm not dead."
Yeah, and then I'd disappear.
I wouldn't know what's going on. Honestly, I was like, is Aidan dying? Is he having an existential crisis? Does he need me to go over? What's happening?
Yeah, that's literally what happened.
Do I need to say my final goodbyes? I got to that point.
Yeah, but that wasn't the first time I've had that. And the original time I had that, I realized I could only really look at TV screens. I couldn't even read. My eyes couldn't focus. That's basically I can't focus. But a TV screen's kind of way away. It's a different kind of light. So I was fine with it. So I just powered through Torchwood series 1 and 2. And then obviously once I'm better, I'm going, right, I'll back on with my life. And then I didn't carry on with it.
Torchwood was your remedy.
Basically, even though ironically, series 3 is supposed to be the best one, but I'm like, I'm not seeing it.
What do you think of Torchwood? I've seen the worst episodes.
People say series 1 and 2 are the worst, and then series 3 is the great one. Series 4 is not so good, but it's kind of better than series 1 and 2. And I'm like, I've seen the bad ones, but I still really enjoyed them. There's some real blips in there, like Chris Chibnall's Cyber Woman.
I was about to mention that. I haven't seen much of Torchwood, and I haven't actually seen that episode, but I know about that from just. It's infamous.
What was my point? Yeah, the point was, I've watched this episode for years, and Ianto and Gwen are in it, and I'm kind of like, cool, I don't know who you are. Then I watched Torchwood, and there's actually more in the team. There's Tosh and Owen, and they mentioned Tosh and Owen in this episode, actually. They die at the end of series 2. This is then set immediately after.
Oh, thanks.
They say they're dead in this episode. They say that bit when they've got gun. The bit when they got the gun, Gwen says, "I'll go down fighting like Tosh and Owen."
I'm sorry I didn't latch onto those 2 names. Now you reminded me. That's all I can think about.
Anyway,
I'll start up Torchwood and I'll only be thinking about you 2 are going to die.
Well, that's what I did. I knew they died anyway.
Oh, so brilliant. You're going to inflict that same...
I was watching again, you're going to die soon. But
I don't know. It's like, if you know someone's going to die in a TV show and you don't like them, it's always nice.
I'm not a fan of Owen, actually. I find him quite annoying. Again, there's really sexist things happening there as well. But yeah, it's a very questionable show. Then when
should I not watch it?
Right, it's got really good moments, but it's also got really bad. The thing I find was really Torchwood sidetrack here, but I think a lot of people don't like it, and I think it's because it's not Doctor Who. Like Sarah Jane and Doctor Who are very much the same vibes, and there's kind of same directors, same team. It very much feels like the same thing. the Torchwood thing that I thought about Torchwood is it feels kind of like an American TV show. Have you ever seen any of like Arrow or any of that?
Yes, I saw
filmed in
most of the first season, and then it lost me.
It's basically filmed in the same way as Arrow.
Like the CW stuff.
Yeah, it's got that same vibe. It kind of even feels like they're pausing for ad breaks at bits.
They
as well.
probably are actually, because it is kind of Americanized. It does feel actiony, and I feel like a lot of kind of TV shows that try and be actiony, they take a lot of inspiration from American shows.
Yeah, I mean, because it would have been in the time of The Wire and things like that. So I do think it takes.
I'm going to reference House for a second here. From the bits I've seen of Torchwood, it does remind me of the style of House.
It's very much that's in. Like, there's so many like bits when it goes like there's narration going. This is the time when everything changes and all that kind of thing. That's not me losing my voice. I just had something in my throat. And there's a bit where there's so many shots where Jack is stood on a rooftop and you get a panning shot spinning around.
Why is Jack
him.
on a rooftop?
Well, he's the main character, isn't he?
Why is he on a
Torchwood?
rooftop?
I don't
Why is he
know.
up there? Did he just teleport up there just to
he's
stand?
just stood there just looking over Cardiff with a a shot going around him just to be
I know exactly what you mean.
And
they always look
that's the theme tune.
I thought that was the Rude Sandstorm. I don't know. I was like, that's an odd choice for the theme song.
Yeah, that tickled me. That did. Yeah, that's the theme tune for Torchwood.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I had seen Torchwood and then I watched this episode again, that meant more for me. So basically, what the original point was after this 7-minute tangent was that's how I imagine that feels for you as Sarah Jane. You see it. You see it. You see how long that tangent was.
For that, that's incredible.
But I'm going to keep it in because.
Oh, I have not mentioned the Rude Sandstorm in years, and that's the first thing that reminded me of.
Yeah. That's the theme tune.
I'm going to have to get the theme tune up and just compare now, and I bet they're similar.
They'll sound nothing alike.
It's just
but my version
your
sounds
version.
like it. Right, well, just quick fight. We're really running out of time, though we can go over.
We
because
focused on, I think.
Nobody's got the room after us. We can go over.
Yeah, I think we focused on but no, we've covered kind of the main companions.
Yeah, I think.
Or not the main companions.
Or at
Donna,
least major things about, because you could go, let's go into a section about Wilf. I mean, it's not really worth it. Though I do really love the bit.
Let's just we'll just quick fire.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll quick fire up to Donna, I think. We'll do that quickly now.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just do Martha first, because I think Martha has
I love Martha.
You know what I mean? I always say Martha is shafted by the show. She's literally your favourite companion, and you've just forgotten her.
She is. Genuinely, I love her so much. I don't know. I do think she gets good moments in this, but I think... Okay, I'll talk about Martha, actually.
What I think Martha represents here is that she's really strong and she's amazing, but it shows you that there can be a different interpretation of travelling with a Doctor. Everybody else is kind of going, look how amazing it can make you. And this kind of shows you that the Doctor is a character who will go to a far length to save the day. And this shows you that can rub off, because Martha is literally going, I'm going to blow up the world to save it. And it's kind of like, Jesus Christ, Martha.
It's kind of cool, though. Kind of metal.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like that, but it is kind of like, I think that's what she kind of represents.
Yes.
It's like, it's great to have Martha back, and you are still doing amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also to show you that Doctor can have amazing effects on. The Doctor can have amazing effects on people, but look what can happen if somebody's inspired by the worst parts of the Doctor.
Which kind of the Doctor kind of can. The 10th Doctor was in a fair amount of places, and with Rose, he was so infatuated. I think he wasn't as. Even if he was terrible, Rose was still infatuated. So you still had that kind of. They were infatuated with each other. So there was that dampener there.
I think if you.
But then with Donna, you have someone who's actively stopping him.
Exactly.
But then with Martha, she is
Let's
her
say she's
strong
more
person in
impressionable.
herself. But I think she is when it comes to the Doctor. I mean, I probably would be. If I were any of them, I'd probably be Martha. I don't want to sleep with David Tennant like Rose does.
And Martha does.
But she gets over that. Let's say.
Okay,
initially,
she realizes he's not interested and goes, all right, fair enough.
That's more like me, actually. No, so I do get that, and it's understandable, and it's but I get exactly what you mean. It's interesting kind of seeing that you do have this. You can be inspired a bit too much by someone. She doesn't try to become the Doctor, but she is. She's inspired a lot by that aspect because she is so strong. I think it would make sense for her to be inspired by that aspect because she goes and she joins the military and then unit and all that kind of thing. So she is very much inspired by that strong element of the Doctor, and that is something that was very much prevalent during her series. So then it makes a lot of sense. It's very. See, as you can tell, I really like Martha. But with her in this episode, I'll just say, I do really like her kind of. Everyone's telling her, don't do this thing with the Osterhagen key or whatever, and she's just like, no, I'm going to keep traveling. I'm going to do my thing because I need to do this because it is the last resort. And I know. I think it's dumb when you've got the Doctor as an option to blow up the planet, but I think threatening to do it, to do it is dumb, and you shouldn't don't do it. But I don't think she would have, because I probably would have done the same thing, which is threatening to do it, because I think that's really, really smart, because they need the planet, and without the planet, the whole thing goes. I don't think she would have done it, and I think it would have been dumb to do it, as I've said, but I think it's such. I would have done the same kind of threat.
Yeah,
it's like a final.
That moment where they all hold Davros to ransom is really interesting, because I wrote a plus point saying, God, I love them holding him to ransom, because they're going, we've got a warp star, we've got the Osterhagen key. But then I also love that then I'm going, yeah, hold that bitch to ransom. But then the Doctor's actually really disappointed in them for doing that. And I find that a really interesting element, that I'm there going, yeah. But then the Doctor's kind of like really sulking. And then Davros goes, look what you've done to them, Doctor. Look what they're prepared to do. And then he kind of goes, ah. And I find that really interesting.
Yes, and it shows kind of how much Davros knows about the Doctor. Kind of, they do know each other. And no, I get what you're saying there.
Okay, so other companions will just fly through these because we've got so much to do and so little time to do it in. We've still got to talk about Donna, Davros, and the Donna, Daleks, and the Doctor.
Trust me.
We'll do it. We've got 5 minutes, but I'm sure we can keep going for another half an hour.
Yes.
Probably a very long episode, but anyway. Okay, so we'll just say Wilf, I like how
Wilf is amazing.
I love that he's out with a paintball gun. I love the bit when Rose appears and he goes, you want to swap with the gun? I love that. Sylvia, I love the fact that she's kind of like, the Donna's not out with the dog. Don't be ridiculous.
I love the moment where the Doctor at the end says, when Sylvia says, oh, I love Donna so much, and the Doctor usually says, tell her that then.
Show her that.
And it's like,
I love that bit as well. So I like that. Jackie is kind of just there to be like, hey,
I don't really know why Jackie was there.
It's just to be like, it's Jackie, innit? Just bring her back.
Why is she not wearing anything
I suppose
proper, rugged for this kind of combat situation? Why are you still in your just jeans and your denim?
Yeah, I think you could say the excuse, well, just looking to make sure Rose is okay. Mickey and Jack, we're not going to talk about for obvious reasons.
Obviously, the characters were well written by.
I mean, even
Davis.
Even just talking about the characters, though, just very briefly.
Yes.
Mickey is pointless.
Oh,
doesn't need to be there.
No point. The Mickey and honestly, the two Mickey and Jackie thing is obviously just there for. Well, look at the Mickey and Jackie.
Yeah,
they don't need to be there.
The entire.
They don't need to be
there.
there. And honestly, I think they do bloat the crew a little bit. You know what I mean? I
mean, it's kind of good to go. Oh, everybody's here, but it's kind of like, what are you adding to the team? So I think even if everything wasn't going on with Noel Clarke, it'd still be like, Mickey's there, isn't it? Jack is much better, and Jack Harkness is really good here, but I kind of feel a little bit icky.
I know exactly what you mean.
Complimenting John Barrowman right now. Even the moment when Jack and Mickey hug each other, I'm kind of like, that's
the worst bit of the film.
And now exterminate them. Like, it's kind of like they're together now.
Yeah.
But
one shot. You just
I don't really want to talk about
I know
them.
exactly what you mean. It's just kind of like I'm just going to say the writing by Russell T Davies for Jack is very good.
And Jack is a very good character.
Yes, maybe you could recast.
Well, maybe if we bring him back, he can be much later in his life when now he's morphing into the face of Bo, so we can get a much older actor to play him.
Exactly.
Anyway, I've just come up with that on the spot, but I think that's actually quite a good idea.
Here we go.
Anyway,
we've said it now, so they'll do it.
Yeah, Martha's mum is just there to be like Martha's mum, but it's nice to see her, to give her emotional support.
Make you feel, not too much. It's just enough where it's important for Martha, and it gives you that. I think it's a wonderful. I do love when she just teleports home, and it's like, oh my god,
yeah,
it's very sweet.
It's very nice. Who else is there? K9.
Oh my god! 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 When I forgot he was in this, even for such a brief moment.
So did I.
Genuinely, when I'm getting little goosebumps here, I love K9 so much. When he first showed up, I literally sent Aidan a snappy
video going,
yeah! Literally, when he showed up, I went, yes! Like, it's such a. I was overjoyed when he showed up.
Do you
I
know what
love
I
it.
really like?
Because I love it when Sarah Jane kind of skips over past the camera and she's like, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
And it's such a wonderful little shot, just a little skip over, and how David does such incredible acting there, because he's very proud of her, because I think just it's incredible, like it's pride in how she kind of, I know what I'm going to do here. And it's kind of like, because from like a Doctor standpoint, it's a companion he's known for a hell of a lot of his life. So it's kind of like she's still as wonderful as ever, and she can solve these problems that even I couldn't solve, you know?
And then when K9 appears, he goes, well, there's another companion I've known for all my life.
And he's so happy, and it's just K9. I love K9, and then K9 does his little.
I mean, I do.
wobbly drive.
You know, my opinion on K9 has soured because he gets really annoying in Doctor Who.
Well, I haven't seen that much, so I only know him as Amazing K9.
But when he's here, I am like, yes. But when you sent me the snap going, because you watched it before me, when you sent me the snap going, K9's that, I went, oh, really? Well, he's a bit shoehorned in, isn't he?
Mhm.
Then I watched it and went, oh, no, it makes total sense.
It's such a nice little fitting bit for him. I love it.
I also like in this Sarah Jane attic as well. I love that the fanfare is acknowledged, Mr. Smith, because whenever you see it, the Sarah Jane event, just you think it's just his theme tune. The fact that it actually exists in universe, I love that.
They mention it. I don't know exactly what they say. I'm going to paraphrase, but they basically say, do you have to do that like fanfare every time?
She says, do we need the fanfare right now?
Exactly.
It's like
it's such. I love that self-awareness, and it's really quite endearing. Actually, it's like, I forgot. Listen, it's great most of the time, but we really need you to hurry up this time.
And I like that moment. Luke is obviously just there to be like, it's Luke. I'm glad the rest of the team weren't in it.
Yes, they mentioned, which is important.
Yeah, it would have felt unnecessary, and you do kind of think, why aren't they with their families? That would, that's a priority right now. Who else is there? We've talked about the Torchwood team. There's not much to say about them because
I don't really know,
because you don't know the characters, and I don't feel I can go deep enough on them.
They were nice, and I think they were well done. They were well acted and well written. I don't really know.
I don't feel familiar enough with them. I know them. I know Gwen and Ianto, but I feel like I'm not schooled enough to really give you a good insight into them. I don't think there's anybody. Harriet Jones.
Really nice.
I really like her being back
important
here.
part of it, and it gives her character nice closure. A lot of this whole two-parter is just all about closure,
because obviously they
really
know
nice.
it was the last series.
Yes.
He just wanted to bring it.
But it's not closure which ever feels forced. It's really nice closure. It's great. It's like how Endgame does closure.
It feels deserved.
Exactly.
It's like everything is building towards this. That's how it feels. So I do really like her. I like that with the first time we see her, she's just an MP. I like the second time she's a prime minister.
I like how she introduces herself every time.
she's
And then the
former
Daleks
prime
said,
minister.
yes, we know
who you are.
I know that's kind of like a joke of, oh, yes, we know the Daleks saying it. But a part of me really likes that, because the Daleks know who she is.
I'd obviously done their research on her.
And it shows you that, but it also shows you that she's probably been doing some really important things to the point where she would be important enough to know about. I just like that
they're
for the
probably
character.
looking at world leaders and threats and who's they've gone, right, Harriet Jones, former prime minister, but let's keep an eye on her.
Exactly.
So yeah, I like her. I like her being it. Before I called this podcast Exterminating Doctor Who, it was going to be called the Subwave Network.
That's worse, but nice little reference.
The reason I changed it is because I thought if you're searching for Doctor Who podcasts, you're not going to find Subwave Network. But that was the original name for this. That was the original name for this podcast. Who's left? Donna.
Incredible. And I've said, I've spoken to you about Donna before, and I do think, and I originally thought Donna was kind of like
stupid.
No, not that bad. No, but kind of she was at the bottom of my list for Tennant's companions. But ever since kind of rewatching this, when I'm older and especially Turn Left last week, and these two this week, obviously.
And knowing me, who holds you at gunpoint if you don't like Donna.
Yes.
I'll hold
exactly.
She's the best companion.
She's really grown on me, and I've been able to appreciate Catherine Tate as Donna, and I've been able to appreciate the character, and I'll say categorically now that she is wonderful, and she's wonderfully done in this, and Catherine Tate acts Donna brilliantly. And basically the way I kind of do my companions, although I really like Martha, I'd say my companions for Tennant's era and Eccleston's era is basically just
a flat line.
No, I prefer it as kind of like a wibbly wobbly ball of stuff. It's just they're all in like a little bubble pinging around, and depending on my time of day, they're in a different place.
I actually find it really difficult to rank the companions, because I was thinking this episode, I thought my default was kind of New Who companions we're talking here. My default always was Donna, Rose. But now I kind of, because I don't like the romance, I don't think I can put Rose there anymore. So I do think for my New Who companions, I find it really hard to rank them.
But Bill,
that's what now I would say my ranking probably goes, if I had to go, if you went gut reaction, I'd probably go Donna, Bill, Martha, Rose, Amy, Clara, Graham, Ryan, Yaz. That's probably what I'd
Oh,
do.
I forgot about those last three.
Do you know? That's kind of how I'd do it. But anyway, I do love Donna here. Is another thing I said last week about Turn Left. The fact that they're all these companions, yet she still feels like the main companion of this era.
Yes.
That's such a it's a hard thing to achieve. But she does. It still feels
and I
like
mentioned kind of why I thought that was last week, because the characters
we
have had growth.
don't need to go over that
Yes.
again. But it does feel like it's like, wow, we've got every single companion of this era, except Adam. Obviously, we're not going to bring him back from the long game.
Oh, Jesus.
Technically, he's a companion, but
Yeah.
let's not bring him back. Another problematic actor. Jesus Christ.
Shall we just not work in Doctor Who?
Yeah, I don't. Well, let's
do hire us.
let's hope Russell T Davies has more faith in cast now.
No,
than he
whoever
does back
the
then.
casting director is, hopefully it's not the same person.
Oh, okay, yeah. What was I saying?
Donna.
Yeah, she still feels like very much the main companion. I've said last week, I love that Donna's shtick is that she's somebody who has no self-confidence, and it's kind of like, you are amazing, but you just don't believe you are. And it takes the Doctor to bring that out of her.
That's actually one negative I actually don't quite like about this episode. The fact this is the chosen one thing. The fact she doesn't have that belief in herself, but then she's proven that she categorically is important. That's kind of nice, but I would have personally preferred it if she had have discovered that own confidence in herself.
But I guess we got that last week with Turn Left.
But then the Doctor in this, the Metacrisis Doctor, literally says that I know what you're thinking, and you genuinely don't believe you're special at all. And that's,
I suppose so, but she's still, I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I don't know if I interpret it that way personally. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like she is showing those elements of her self-confidence. I love the bit when they are talking about the lost planets to the Shadow Proclamation. And she goes, oh, yeah, but what about Pyrovelia? And
the bees moment.
Wherever the adipose come from. And it's kind of like, and the Doctor then goes, oh, wait, no, you're right. Because the Doctor wasn't even thinking about it. It took Donna to think of that. And I do like that she does have that self-confidence brought out of her, though I know technically you're right that it takes the chosen one to bring it out of her to go, yeah, you're important.
Not to bring
is
it out
why.
of her, but for her to accept the fact, that thing.
Yeah,
Which
so I
think
guess
she was special for.
I can understand that, but I kind of feel like it's a moment of unlocking
Yeah.
her potential.
I still do like that she does discover her potential, but it's
just I feel like
I can't connect quite as much with that version of being the chosen one
true
than
yeah.
I could if she had
I get you.
discovered it 100%
I get
fully
you,
herself.
yeah, I do get you. I'm not going to say I agree or disagree. I just understand.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean. I get you now.
Yeah. So no, I do really I love it. Like I said, I feel like we've gone over a lot of things already, so I can almost
And a lot of things about Donna,
Yeah.
especially in last
I feel
episode.
like and then the heartbreaking ending as well. It still breaks me. That does.
Oh yeah, and I've mentioned that earlier in this episode, but no, that moment is honestly, it breaks me, because it's not only heartbreaking for the Doctor, but it's extremely heartbreaking for Donna, because this is the happiest she's ever been, and she's had this development of being confident in herself, and then she kind of goes back to square one, and I do find that incredibly sad. And I find the moment with Wilf and the Doctor in the rain when they have that kind of goodbye, and I'm so glad. I've always liked Wilf being the one who, like, in the chamber when the Doctor regenerates, that kind of thing. He, like, being the reason for the Doctor's death. That's always kind of sat right with me. But by seeing this again now, it's kind of like, it makes sense that this guy's the person there, because he connects the Doctor to Donna, and then Wilf is just a kind soul, you know. And I just like, no, that moment is just really sweet, and that the whole ending, I think, it's just such a good episode. That ending is very emotionally charged. It's so.
I mean, it is just so sad.
You will just, like, you can't watch it and not cry.
No,
it's like,
it's impossible. Like, even like you said, the fact she's square one, the fact that when she's just on the phone, just talking about calories and blah blah blah, it's so mundane and ordinary, and you're like, but you were so much more. You were saving worlds. The Doctor says, how many worlds exist now because of Donna? And it's like, you were so important and so powerful, and now you're just back to this kind of really ordinary thing. And it's so sad to think that you you were doing all these things. Imagine if you had all these amazing memories and they were just wiped. It would be devastating.
And I just
But,
want to compare.
but you'll
this.
never know it's devastating because you don't know what
Mm.
you've lost. So I don't think there's much more to say about Donna. I feel like
No.
we've covered
And if you
her
want to know more about our Donna thoughts, listen to our episode last week.
turn left because we really go deep into Donna. Ugh.
I knew you were going to say something. You could have phrased that better.
Well, Daleks, I think, talk about here quickly.
Oh, yes.
Because I sent you a snap saying, I think this is the last time the Dalek. To be fair, the Chibnall episode where the Dalek is out of its shell and it clings to the woman's back, I think is not the one we watched. I don't know if you saw this one, but Resolution, I do think is one of the better Dalek episodes.
I've
in
seen
New Who.
some images of that. That is arguably scary in terms of a thing.
Mm. The thing I was going to say,
The thing is, I've
about
seen
to say-
Alien, so it can't really. It just
True.
feels like it's.
I was going to
copying
say, what I was going to say is, I think this is the last time Daleks was scary, but I think Resolution was a good shot at the Daleks being scary.
I think this was the last time the Daleks as Daleks were scary.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think in Resolution wasn't that like with that. That's not really a Dalek thing to do.
Not
It's a
really,
new
but
Dalek
it's
thing to
it's
do, but
quite threatening.
Do you get what I mean?
It's quite threatening when it then gets
Daleks in the classic sense. Better done here.
when it gets into the Dalek case, which looks stupid because it's all beaten and built in a shed kind of thing. But that's like, you look stupid, and then when it starts blowing things up, I go, okay, you're quite capable, Dalek. I do find that episode. To be fair, I do quite like it. It's one of the few.
Mhm.
Look, I have to have a Whittaker episode I like. Okay, that's one of the. There's 3 that I like and have no problem. Well, I do. I
no
do have.
problems.
No, I do have problems. I do have major problems with them, but there are 3 that I like, and it's
Yeah.
one of them. Okay. But I do think the Daleks should be Daleks. They should be like, oh my god, it's rather than going, oh, the Daleks back. Oh, cool. It should be like the Daleks are back, and they're gonna. And here
They feel like
they're terrifying. I
Yeah.
genuinely find them quite terrifying.
they're
here.
scary, and I think that's. We've said this before, and we'll say it again until we die. Doctor Who, I believe, is something scary, and it should always be scary, at least a little bit, in parts. And the Daleks are such a staple for Doctor Who. When they're scarier, they're better. It's just how it is, and I love
Absolutely.
them being scary. It's like with the Cybermen, gotta be scary. You don't need to make me wet myself when I'm watching it, but it needs to be a threat. And for these kind of things to be a threat in Doctor Who, scary has always been a great way of doing it, and it always works. It's why the Eccleston era, I think, is so brilliant, because it's more scary than anything. I think, like, it's obviously soap opera elements, but I think it does lean way more into the scariness than Doctor Who right now does.
And I think that especially it's so easy to have something be ominous and be scary. To have like, all the Daleks are coming. The moment so obviously when we have the moment when you hear the Dalek voice and the Torchwood team are like going, oh my god, and Sarah Jane's going, oh my god, and Unit going, oh my god, and they just lose all hope. I love how quickly people lose hope in this story as well. Most stories, it's like the final few moments, oh, all hope is lost. Here's the thing to save us, it's over. It's 20 minutes into Stolen Earth that all hope is lost. 20 minutes.
And that's probably part of the reason why the Daleks seem so scary, because everyone's just like,
That's it. There's nothing we can
sod
do.
it.
It's like this is it.
Yeah.
So I love how scary they are when you first hear them. Okay, I give up. I love that. And then
Oh,
the
I
fact,
see, yeah.
the fact when it's so easy. It's how many times have we seen Dalek exterminate generic goon?
They don't just do
Security.
exterminate in this, though.
It's like security guard exterminated. Sure, he's dead. Oh, that's quite sad. They murder a family.
Oh, yeah.
They blow up their house.
With maximum
That's
extermination.
horrifying.
It's
Because that's something we can then relate to.
It's terrible and it's horrifying, but it is great
Brilliant.
because it means the Daleks are scary again.
Yeah.
And also, just a little sidetrack, I do like how maximum extermination implies there's minimumist extermination. Just a little zap.
Yeah.
Little gonna take your toe off. I just like that idea that a Dalek
Well,
has
they
the
stu-
option
in the
to do
first
minimum
in
extermination.
their first ever appearance in a Hartnell episode, they exterminate Ian, but it's just a stun. He gets up and he's all right. So I suppose that's minimum extermination.
Dalek's scary.
I love that they're rounding people up on the street as well.
Mm.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Mm.
That is. And
I love this. I love they're doing these horrible things.
oh God, I love this. It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And something that makes me laugh as well is the kind of the on the nose. Yeah, the Daleks are Nazis. You're going to hear them in German. Exterminating. I love that bit.
But I like that because it also means obviously for that reason as well, but also it means that do they change languages for different countries, or do they just have some sort of translator which just naturally does it?
Yeah, it would be that one. And the fact, because we hear it in German because we don't have a TARDIS translator circuit
Yes.
with us as well. I like that as well. So yeah, we've already talked about Davros a bit, really, haven't we? So I do like that he's not in charge. I like that the Supreme Dalek is the one in charge. That's the leader.
And he's their pet.
And it's just like, you're in the basement. You created us, sure, but I'm in charge.
We're doing this basically out of courtesy at this point. There's something.
Yeah, we
in our
rescued
brains.
you. Just sit there and shut up, basically, isn't it? So yeah, I haven't got much more to say about the Daleks. I just really, I want to mention it, even if briefly, because they are just terrifying in this, and this is how Daleks should be written.
Exactly.
If Russell T Davies can do this in his new era, make the Daleks scary again,
And different paint job.
with a new design, maybe that's probably another reason why they're not scary anymore, because they're so familiar.
That's probably quite an important factor in it.
Because it's kind of the classic thing. If you see a monster, if you hear the monster, it's more scary than actually seeing the monster.
The more you
if you then see the monster every bloody series, you think, oh, these people again.
The more you see something scary and it is doing similar things than what it does, it becomes less scary. It's the Alien thing. Like if you see Alien in the film nowadays, it's not really as scary as it was in the first one. And even if you watch the first one, I think it's still just as scary, the first one, because it's done brilliantly. But like if I were to play Alien, the video game, Alien Isolation, but it's done slightly differently, you see. So it is as scary. It's all about that. You just got to change up a wee bit. You don't need to give me a new character. Change the paint job. Maybe have specialist Daleks. I'm saying it now. If they
change the design and make them do something new.
Imagine if they
Boom,
do
that was
specialist
scary.
Daleks. I'm gonna sue BBC
because that was our idea. And if they bring back a older Captain Jack,
or Susan.
Yes. Well, that needs to happen. I
Cool.
want to see that.
I won't sue you if you do that because it's a really good
we
thing.
will go down there and kiss you personally and say thank you so much for that. Yeah. So the Doctor, let's just finish off him nicely. Finish him. What nice things have you got to say about the Doctor? Because I think
I love David Tennant.
I think Metacrisis we've talked about. Don't need to go into him.
Nope.
We
need to finish the Doctor off. We're not going to go into the Metacrisis Doctor.
Oh no, it's you're hearing.
You're the one who's saying all these
hearing
things.
the innuendos. I'm just speaking normally.
You're right.
I think this is kind of like the refined 10th Doctor. It's everything that is perfect about him is here,
especially in the first episode.
Yes, especially. I love it's in minor moments where he's just like. The one I really, the bit when I thought this is just perfect 10th Doctor is the bit where he goes, the bees are disappearing. But when he actually goes, the bees are disappearing. The bees are disappearing. The bees are disappearing. And then that's when it clicks with him. And that was when I was watching it, I was going, oh, this is just everything that is perfect about the 10th Doctor is right there.
It really feels like...
It's initially like the kind of attitude and the darkness of being like, look, you're just talking nonsense. And by the end of it, it was just like, oh, you're so right. This is so amazing.
His whole arc is just in that.
Yeah, it's just in 4 lines.
It feels very much like the character himself has come through his arc of being the 10th Doctor, but also feels like David Tennant's kind of refined his performance there.
Yeah.
Knows exactly what it is. I think the 10th Doctor is at his strongest in the first one, if not both of these two. Just the 10th Doctor, not including Metacrisis.
Yeah.
Because that's
the Doctor.
That's an off. That is 10, but it's an offshoot in a sense. But no, the main 10 Doctor, the main 10th Doctor, I think, in this episode, and I love the 10th Doctor. He is phenomenal in this, and I think he has so many incredible moments. And I just love the whole. He goes like his emotional range. You see the Doctor in despair. You see the Doctor triumphant. You see the Doctor sad. You see the Doctor kind of trying to save someone. Like you see all of these elements of a Doctor that you want in this episodes. It's wonderful, especially when you kind of have I really like kind of the beginning, or just like the first half of the first episode, where it is that kind of mystery element. We got to figure this out. The Doctor kind of, without any sort of guise on what to do, he's trying to figure it out. I really like that, seeing that, and I think he did that incredibly. And also, I really did like the moment where Shadow Proclamation are like, we're going to take your TARDIS, and he's like, oh, right, okay. Let me just get the key. And then the moment the door shuts, takes off his coat and he's running, and it's immediate. And I love that. And I just think David Tennant, as the 10th Doctor, and the 10th Doctor as written by Russell T Davies in this
It's
is
perfect.
exactly.
Everything you want it to be is right here.
Yeah. But when I first saw Tennant get pew by the Dalek,
Mhm.
I genuinely thought he was going to die, and I was
Same.
I was stressed and I was angry, and I was like, "You better not," because it was so quick and it was very well done. And then in the next episode, it was just like, "Where were we?" And it's like, "You
Yeah.
mother."
And I love that they've called it the Doctor's vanity issues as well. I love that because Matt Smith, when Matt Smith is explaining that he's the final Doctor and he needs more generations, he goes, "Yeah, well, my past self had some vanity issues." And I love it when the Doctor goes, "Why would I want to change? Look at me." And it is kind of like, it's like, you're just so vain and arrogant. It's just like, yeah, this is me. I'm not changing. But also, I suppose if the Doctor had actually properly changed, he would have been like, "I don't know what's going on," and he'd be going through all the regeneration things.
I do think he does have those vain moments, but I don't think he is that deep down. I feel like that is some sort of a facade, or at least something he's putting on to hide a lot of the pain. I think I do it. I think that's what he maybe does in a
You
way.
just go, "I'm a prick." Anyway, this is why.
No, but do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I would say that wraps it up. So,
It's a great way to end it. George says he's a prick.
yeah, George is a prick. That's the episode in one. So for our Trial of a Time Lord final verdict, I mean, I know what you're going to say, but give me a rating.
10.
And for Journey's End,
9.5.
9.5. Really, it's a 10 and a 9 for me. It is really, it's...
There was little moments that we've spoken about here, but I was weeping like a child, and nothing does that to me. So I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. I've never seen you cry until last night. Well, technically, I saw those snaps this morning because I was asleep. And then I woke up to you going, "Oh, it's so good." And I'm thinking, "God, what is he doing?"
I'm half awake, and you're...
And he's
Are
just
you
going,
alright?
"Yeah." And then the bit when you go, there's a bit either when you... Don't you remember this one? This bit going, "Thank you for making me watch Genesis of the Daleks."
I do that.
It adds so much. It adds so much. And I'm going, Jesus Christ, man. But
Listen, I was having a re-breakdown.
it's a good job you don't save them, because I'd put them as part of the podcast.
Oh, no, I've saved them.
Oh,
If you want them, I can send them to you.
bonus clip. And you just go, "Ah." But yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. It's the perfect finale. It's probably it's my favorite episode when I've seen it, and then I watch Day of the Doctor and I go, "No, this is my favorite episode." And then I watch Stolen Earth and I go, "No, this is my favorite episode." It's probably, let's say, it's joint first place
Yeah.
with Day of the Doctor. That's that episode done. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Next week we are going to be taking the pace down so much. We don't have to think about it too much, unless we're doing the 11th hour. It was Matt Smith's very first episide. So we're
I
doing,
have not seen that in a very long time.
nor me. No, actually, not that long.
No, seriously, like a very long time for me.
I lied through my teeth just then, because I literally did a rewatch of the Matt Smith era.
I do
Either-
that so much.
Either at the start of this year, it was either the start of this year or the end of last year, but I literally rewatched the Matt Smith era.
I've never watched this, me neither. But I did watch it yesterday.
Yeah, I just lied through my teeth. So, no, but I'm really looking forward to doing that, because people say it is the greatest post-regeneration episode ever. So that'll be for us to decide next week.
Awesome.
So
sauce.
join us then. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Yes, thank you very much for listening, everyone. And goodbye.